What's going on, guys? I hope you're doing good. Now, welcome to part two of why your weight won't shift. Now, in part one, I discussed my lifelong journey and battle with my weight and my health, putting it on, losing it, putting it on, losing it in a constant cycle, not understanding why it had nothing to do with calories, but everything to do with my hormones. Now, if you missed that video, I've got a link to it in the description below so you can check that out before watching this one. Now, this is part two, and it's going to go into more detail of the true science behind weight loss at its core so you can understand it properly, implement it into your life, and finally, once and for all, start mastering and having dominion over this area of your life. No more yo-yoing with your weight, with diets, truly understanding your body once and for all. So I'm super excited. Now, if you like part one, you're definitely going to like part two. So please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Really helps me out. All right, guys, see you in the video. But let's take a step further, okay? When you are constantly eating these kind of foods, and even if you're having like a very high carbohydrate diet, these all are processed in the blood as sugar. So what's happening is you're spiking your blood sugars and you're releasing all of this insulin into your body. And when you're eating these foods, what's going to happen is your body's going to have to produce so much insulin to try and take all of this excess sugar out of the blood and put it into your cells. After a while, your cells will become insulin resistant because they can't take any much or more of the sugar overload. This is what you call insulin resistance. It leads to so many problems: pre-diabetes, which is basically too much sugar in the blood, and hyperinsulinemia, when you've got too much insulin in the blood. So many of us have this problem because of the way that we eat. And when we have too much insulin in the blood, it is impossible to burn fat. So what the body does is it wraps up all of this excess sugar and insulin and stores it as fat. So we eat these kind of foods, or we eat a diet that's high in refined carbs, or just high in carbs in general without balance, and we get bigger and bigger and bigger, or we get these issues that lead to pre-diabetes and diabetes and metabolic issues like PCOS, and the list goes on, chronic inflammation, right? The list goes on, okay? But guys, amongst all the other issues that come with insulin, there's another problem. And that is to do with another hormone called leptin. Leptin is the hormone that governs your body weight, right? The thing is that insulin and leptin are read in the same part of your brain. Now, if you're eating all these foods and you're constantly spiking this insulin, guess what? Your brain can't read leptin. Now, in a normal functioning body, your brain will be able to read leptin and say, okay, Kenny, you're slightly overweight here. What we're going to do is we're going to increase your metabolism and lower your hunger so that your weight stabilizes. But if you're constantly spiking insulin, it's blocking the pathway for your brain to read leptin. Guess what? Leptin's blocked. Your brain thinks that you're underweight. Your brain thinks it's starving. So what's it going to do? The easiest thing it's going to do is it's going to lower your metabolism and increase your hunger, right? Because it wants you to store body fat and it wants you to eat, okay? So now you're having this problem, right? You're eating less and less and less because you're trying to restrict yourself, but you want more and more food, okay? Because your body's has actually reduced its metabolism and increased your hunger. Again, a recipe for disaster. So you keep on gaining weight without understanding why, even though you're trying to restrict your calories and you're trying to eat less and less. It's an absolute train wreck, right? And people think that it's just about your willpower. You think that, I need to exercise more and I'm just not doing something right. And it's got nothing to do with that, but it's got everything to do with your hormones. This is the part that freed me. When I think back to my childhood now, and I look at how, for example, my dad and my brother would eat and they wouldn't gain weight, but I would, it all made sense. There is a genetic component to it, but it's not that we're big boned. Sorry, mom. There is something as that you're born naturally more sensitive to insulin or naturally more resistant to insulin. And I grew up more naturally resistant to insulin. And that comes with, I like to say, pros and cons. I tend to put on weight easily if I overdo it on carbohydrates and refined foods like this. But I also tend to lose weight quite quickly and build muscle quite quickly. And if you're like me, you can probably relate to that. So it comes with pros and cons. But that was the reason. That was why growing up, even though I had home cooked meals, my plate balance was all over the gaff. My plate was full of carbohydrates. It was just flooding my blood with insulin. And I would snack throughout the day on this stuff. Again, constantly spiking my insulin. My brother was naturally more insulin sensitive, so it was easier to take all that sugar from the blood into his cells, but it was harder for me. So my body had to continue producing more and more insulin to do the job, which led to then the weight gain, because the more insulin you have, the more your body tells your body, the more your body stores all of that as fat. That's why I was always hungry. That's why I was always hungry. And here's another thing as well. I'll probably go into this on my other video, but this whole GLP-1 thing as well, right? That whole weight loss drugs and injections, okay? GLP-1 is stimulated from the lining of your gut, and it's a hormone that's sent to your brain to tell you that you're full, that you're satiated. So when people take these Wegovy or Manjaro, they think they're losing weight because GLP-1 is basically telling them that they're satiated, they're hungry, so they don't need to eat. That's only part of the reason, if that makes sense. GLP-1 is naturally produced in our bodies, but when we're eating all this food is passing through our gut so quickly that it's not giving the chance for GLP-1 to be released. So your brain's not getting the signal that you are satiated. When I understood that, I realized that you don't have to go to weight loss drugs and pills to stimulate GLP-1 so that you're satiated. Those weight loss pills are basically mimicking what the body should already do. But for some reason growing up, my body wasn't doing what it needed to do. My hormones weren't producing or being responsive in the way that they should. And it wasn't because I was broken or I didn't have willpower, but it's because literally the types of food and the quantities of the certain types of food that I was eating was passing through my blood too quickly and causing hormonal disruption. So leptin wasn't being able to read because there was too much insulin in my blood. And also because of these foods, GLP-1 wasn't being released. So I was always hungry and overeating, and it was just a whole recipe for disaster. I understood through all of this that it wasn't about me eating less. It was about me eating the kind of foods, whole foods, the fibrous foods that slowly go through my gut, that allow GLP-1 to be released, that stabilize my insulin levels so that I'm not producing so much sugar, so that leptin can actually be read to stabilize my metabolism and my hunger and my weight, to regulate this for myself. When you give your body the right foods, your body does the calorie counting for you guys. You don't need to go and calorie count, right? If you're eating the right foods, your body will know what to do with the foods that you give it. That's your body's natural mechanism to count in calories. Game changer. So I hope that makes sense. I feel like I've blabbered, but I hope it makes sense. I want to recap and end the video so you know what you're taking away from this video. One thing you want to do, okay, to start losing weight properly, but also governing your hormones so you're not hungry all the time, replace your ultra processed foods with whole foods, with foods that are single ingredient foods like a plantain or an avocado, or, you know, these are whole foods. 90% of your diet should be whole foods. My diet now is made up of highly fibrous foods, protein, it's made up of healthy fats, it's made up of fermented foods, prebiotic foods, which feed the good bacteria in my gut, polyphenols as well. You know what, I'm gonna probably do another video on this. The long of the short is 90% of my diet comes from whole foods, and like 5%, honestly, 5, maybe sometimes 10% will come from this stuff. Because of course I will go out sometimes or go out with the missus or, you know, treat myself or whatever, but I'm in control. This isn't in control of me. I choose when to have this at a limited time, and then I go back to what I know and what I know works for me. Like I said, these are the foods that pass through your gut slowly. These are the foods that allow your hormones to produce properly, to handle your weight, to handle your metabolism, and count your calories internally so you don't have to manually. Honestly speaking, guys, like if you're looking to control your cravings or your food noise, it's really about controlling your hormones, and these foods are the foods that control your hormones, because you're actually nourished. You're actually nourishing your cells. You're quieting the food noise naturally. You're giving your cells what it needs so that you'll find that you can go longer without food and you won't be craving sugar all the time, because that's what these foods do. They pass through your gut so quickly, they're not giving your body the chance to actually digest it. So you want more and more and more because you don't feel satiated. You don't feel really full. Other thing as well, guys, is the carbohydrates. That's the one food that I negotiate, all right? And it goes back to that whole insulin resistant thing. I'm naturally more insulin resistant, which means I'm more sensitive to sugars and carbohydrates. So the more I have in my diet, if I have too much, I will start producing too much insulin, which will lead to fat storage instead of fat burning. So I make sure carbs make a quarter of my plate. I make sure that if I'm having rice, I don't go over half to 1 cup of rice on my plate. I make sure if I'm having pasta, it's not filling up my whole plate, and I'm matching it with fiber, with vegetables, with protein, with fermented foods, okay, with with probiotics, prebiotics. I'm making sure my plate is balanced so that food, that sugar from the carbohydrates is being slowed down to give my body a chance to truly digest it and to actually produce the GLP-1 so that I'm satiated and not starving and hungry and all this kind of stuff. In those simple terms, if you put on weight naturally easy, carbs aren't the enemy. You just don't want too much, and you don't want them coming from the refined section. The next thing is fasting. Fasting is something sent from God to regulate our body. When we fast, we literally heal. We literally heal from a cellular level. And when it comes to that master hormone, insulin, there's only 2 ways to reduce insulin naturally. Reduce your sugars from carbohydrates and ultra processed foods and sugars, but also fasting, because when you fast, insulin naturally drops, okay? And when you fast beyond a certain point, your body now shifts from fat storage to fat burning. You start using your fat burning energy system, and that's where you start burning fat for fuel. I make fasting a regular thing in my day. When I work with my clients, we build fasting into their routine. I eat once a day now, twice a day maximum. I don't recommend women to do OMAD as a strategy for their whole life, because hormonally they go through more of a cyclical journey with their hormones. So that can come with fasting for a longer period of times, but it has to be in sync with their hormones. And I teach that in another video that I have on my page. The final thing, guys, that you can do is movement, okay? And movement is anything from walking to resistance training, to sports, to whatever. But particularly for me, it's been walking and resistance training. Walking is massive, okay? And all of my clients will start at walking, okay? One powerful thing that you can do is after you eat, okay? Because whenever you eat, you will spike insulin, especially if you're eating certain kind of foods. But whenever you eat generally, you will spike insulin a little bit. Walk after you eat. 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It can even be up and down your house, around your garden if you've got one, or around your block. But that 5 to 10 minutes alone after you have something to eat will do massive things for your body. It's because now what's going to happen is that sugar in your blood, okay, your muscles are going to start moving because of your walking, and it's going to contribute to taking and soaking all of that sugar from your blood, from your meal, into your cells to use as energy. So now, guess what? Your body has to produce less insulin in the blood to take out that sugar from the blood into your cells. Now there's less insulin in the blood. It will mean that your body will be able to release leptin more, which will stabilize your weight, right? So movement is massive, guys. Movement is massive. You don't have to have 10K steps. A lot of my clients will start at 5 to 6K and stay there. My thing would be, whatever you're doing now, apply the nutrition principles first. And if you want to walk more, go for 2K steps more than you originally do, and maintain that for about a month and see how you go. And then if you want to increase, go from there. But it needs to be sustainable for you. Strength training is massive, okay? This is always the long-term goal for my clients. And for me, it's a game changer. The more muscle you have, the more insulin receptor sites you have, okay, to soak in that sugar from the blood into your cells, which basically means, in short, you become a better fat burner the more muscle that you have. And after the age of 30, we lose muscle, basically. We stop growing muscle naturally. We lose muscle. And for women, this rate actually happens a lot quicker than men. So I always say that, look, for your longevity, for your metabolic health, your ability to burn fat, but also just for your longevity, you want to be fighting and holding on to that muscle, building a strength training regimen into your daily routine, into your weekly routine. All you need to do is 2 sessions. You know, start with walking and then build yourself up to 2 to 3 sessions a week. And that will be an absolute game changer. And you will find also that you will be able to get away with eating more, especially more carbohydrates, because you have more muscle to soak in the sugar. So that's a real cheat code that I use to this day. So guys, I hope this makes sense. I hope I haven't blabbered, and I hope I've made sense in this video and it's been of value to you. The reason why I'm sharing this is because I know, like, there's many of you that are just like me, who have gone on a real battle with their weight for like the majority of their lives, and have had so many different narratives in their mind that it's just genetics, that they're born this way, this is fate, I have to reside to calorie counting for the rest of my life, I have to maybe just cut carbs the rest of my life, or whatever it may be, or never be able to enjoy a biscuit or a cereal, whatever it may be, when that's just not the case. It was never about your willpower, it was never about your ability to calorie count, but what it was your hormones. It was about understanding what foods do to your hormones, understanding the hormones that govern your weight and your metabolism, and then eating in a way to preserve your hormonal health. That was it. So with proper portion control, with knowing the right amount of carbohydrates to eat, with putting these refined like foods in its place so that they only hold like 5 to 10% of your actual diet, you will be doing wonders. Start moving, start walking, start strength training, and you will find that your hormonal health will improve, your metabolism will improve, and the weight will just follow. This is what I do in my coaching, in the Kingdom Stewardship Blueprint. We don't get you to count calories. We fix your hormones, we fix your metabolism, and the weight follows, you know, and it's so freeing. It's so freeing. It's changed my life, guys, you know, like for the first time in my life for the past few years now, I can control my weight, you know, and it's so freeing knowing I don't have to do all of these things I was told to do. It's so liberating, you know, and I get that from my clients too, and it's a very fulfilling feeling. So guys, if this helped, let me know, man. Let me know. Please like the video. It really does help me to get this video out there. It helps the algorithm. Post a comment, share it with people that you also feel like it would resonate with too. And if you want help with this, if you want help with putting these principles into a lifestyle plan that suits you, hit the link below in the description. Let's have a chat, let's talk about it, and let's see if I can help you. All right, guys. Other than that, it's been a pleasure. If you've made it to the end, you're a real one, because I know I've blabbered a lot. I'm going to stop talking now, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless, guys. Peace.